Welcome everyone to Mail Fuzz News. It is your Tuesday edition. I am all on my own, so I am Peter for anyone who's stumbling upon this particular video for the first time. If this is the first thing you've seen from Mail Fuzz TV, I am Peter. But yeah, I got some movie news, got some TV news, a couple of big interesting things. We'll start off with a movie trailer, Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings from Marvel. So we finally got our first. They're calling it a teaser trailer, but it's still like 2 minutes long. It's a full trailer. And these new Marvel movies are very interesting from the sense that I didn't know anything about Shang-Chi. I'd never heard of this character before they said they were making a movie around him. And so I go into this trailer completely blind, completely new to the material, and only with my opinion of the MCU and its typical quality, it being an aggregate for what I've got to expect. And I will say the trailer is perfectly fine. I don't feel particularly excited by it. There's a couple of flourishes that I enjoy, particularly the fighting towards the end. There's a scene on a bus, and I enjoy kind of the sort of obviously the martial arts, but particularly the almost like early Jackie Chan style antics of not as funny, admittedly, but there's a moment where there's some people about to fall out the window in the bus when it's tipped over, and he kind of like sticks his leg out to like block them from falling. And it's that kind of thing where he's sort of running out of limbs to save people with. And that stuff looks kind of interesting, and that feels very fresh, and it feels very different for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that's the stuff that I definitely like the most. The actual like plot and character stuff, I'm not sold on yet. There's nothing wrong with it per se. I guess my big thing with this movie going into it is that, the way they're talking about the Ten Rings, and they've got the real Mandarin, which, and I was never that excited about the idea of the Mandarin in the first place. That doesn't really excite me all that much. It's a bit in the mystical side, and I don't tend to like fantasy style things. I hated Doctor Strange. No, obviously this isn't a full-on sorcerer movie or magic or anything like that, but I imagine they're going to be, talking about I'm not just saying this because it's Shang-Chi, but maybe they will talk about chi as a concept, and they'll talk about that kind of thing. It seems like the character he trains when he's young, but he's given a chance to go live a normal life for like a decade, and then it's time to sort of be called in. But he's made friends, he's got a life, and he doesn't want to, and he kind of paves his own path by the looks of it. So yeah, it looks. If I was to make a prediction right now, based on this trailer, and this is going off just my opinion of the previous Marvel movies, it feels like it's going to be about Ant-Man in terms of level of like quality. Now, maybe because of my tastes, I won't feel as positive on it after I actually see it. Maybe I'll feel way more. Maybe it'll surprise me. It might do some really surprising things and do some cool stuff. But as it is, it looks like a sort of typical Marvel trailer with a couple of nice flourishes towards the end. But for my own taste, some of the the birthright and talking about destiny and the Ten Ring stuff, I'm not particularly excited about. Now, it's the sort of thing that I might be very surprised when I actually see the movie. They might like make it all work for me, but I'm not feeling it right now. So yeah, we'll see. It's kind of a weird year for the Marvel movies, not just because everything's late, but because we have Black Widow, which is this weird kind of side like flashback movie, and then we have Shang-Chi at the end of the year. So we'll see how this goes. So this is coming out in like September, October. The date is not obvious on this article, so I will just leave it there. But you can check out the trailer for yourself and see what you think quite easily. So that is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So I'm if I'm gauging it, if I'm saying hot, cold, or neutral, I am basically neutral on this. And that's probably the most boring thing to say. It's the most boring opinion on anything, is that I don't feel strongly one way or the other. But hey. Speaking of superhero things, this is just a quick update really, but apparently, despite the fact that we expected the same creators to be back for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2, it's only just become official, even though they've already been working on it. So take that for what you will. So Joaquim Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson are officially back to direct Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2, or whatever it's going to be called, which is going to come out on October the 7th, 2022. So just late next year now. If you know, when we first got the date for this movie, it felt so long after the first one, but because every movie's been paused for a while, it now feels like it's quite soon. So we'll see how that is. But yeah, so not really a big deal because we kind of expected this, but good to have it confirmed one way or another. Sticking with movie stuff for now, we have Vin Diesel, who's going to be in a Rock'em Sock'em robot movie for Mattel Films Universal. That was meant to be Mattel Films and Universal. They're not one company, forgive me. So it's based on the classic tabletop boxing robot game, which I never had as a kid. These might have been slightly before my time, or I just didn't care and didn't want one, so I never got one. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, apparently they've been around since 1966, so I guess I'm not surprised this wasn't for me. So yeah, so Rampage and the Commuter writer Ryan Engel has written the script. I saw Rampage and it was a dull, uninspired mess, might be a strong word. Thoroughly mediocre with no feeling whatsoever, but is it a mess? It was kind of a mess. I never saw The Commuter, but it was a Liam Neeson action movie from the last few years, so I guess that can give you an expectation. It's going to follow a father and a son who form an unlikely bond with an advanced war machine. I'm not going to lie, this sounds a lot like Real Steel, and Real Steel was shockingly good for what it was. So I have a hard time believing that this is going to be anywhere close to that, especially, and I don't dislike Vin Diesel. He's got a presence. He's good in the Riddick movies, but I don't think he's going to compete with Hugh Jackman, I'm afraid. So I can't say I have much hope for this one. But hey, maybe you're excited for Rock'em Sock'em. Maybe it's something you grew up with and you're really passionate about it. Good stuff. Next up, the Mad Max spin-off Furiosa, which is set to star Anna Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth, is officially going to be shooting in Australia next year, New South Wales specifically. So they're actually going to start shooting this in 2022. Miller's in post-production on his current film. He's doing a romance film called 3,000 Years of Longing, and he's going to go straight into Furiosa after that. So yeah, Taylor-Joy is in the origin story of Furiosa. The only other thing that he kind of said, I saw that Miller said about it, is that it's kind of a saga and it spans like many years, which is interesting because it's the total opposite of Fury Road, because Fury Road was like one continuous thing that, you know, once it wasn't in real time, but once it started, it was kind of just this sequential thing that took place over, you know, a couple of days or whatever it was. Whereas here, we're going to have this sort of, you know, periods of our life, presumably. So, I mean, Fury Road buys him a lot of leeway, it buys him a lot of trust, where I'm going to be interested until something sounds off, but I have no reason to be upset by this. And I think we all wanted Miller to do another Mad Max movie of some kind. Now, do I necessarily want a prequel to Furiosa specifically? I mean, I like the character in the movie. Part of me thinks the appeal of Mad Max is just kind of these random situations that he finds himself in that he then kind of becomes this unlikely hero involved in. This is a bit more specific and a bit more focused into a character journey for someone. Now, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea. It's just necessarily, it's not what I would have predicted for the next Mad Max movie, but on its own, taken on its own, there is no reason why this can't be a great story. And having Taylor-Joy and Hemsworth being on board is certainly it's certainly a positive sign, where it's in a variety of good hands. So yeah, and hey, Chris Hemsworth gets to film closer to home. He probably lives like, I mean, I don't even know if he lives in Australia still, but even if he does, he you know, Australia's a pretty big place. He might live on the other side of the country, but still. So hey, that's Mad Max spin-off Furiosa. Going to shoot next year. Nice to see. Next up, Netflix's Adam Sandler film Spaceman is expanding its cast and has added Paul Dano along with Kunal Nayar to the cast. Um, Carey Mulligan's already in the film, so there you go. Adam Sandler's going to play an astronaut sent to the edge of the galaxy to collect mysterious ancient dust as he finds his earthly life falling to pieces. He turns to the only voice who can help him to try put it back together. It just so happens to belong to a creature from the beginning of time lurking in the shadows of his ship. I mean, it's an Adam Sandler movie, so everyone's basically stopped caring from the first sentence of this news story, so I'll move on. But, I mean, Dano's a bit more of a serious thespian to throw in there, but, I mean, he also likes money, I assume, so there you go. So jumping over to TV stuff, we're back to some Marvel material here. Olivia Colman is in talks to join Samuel L. Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn in the Secret Invasion series, which is going to be on Disney Plus. Which, I mean, this is a really cool concept that they're doing a show out of. And I've never actually read Secret Invasion, but I'm familiar with the basic idea of it. It was one of those things there. Was it the event after Civil War in the comics? Yeah, it must have been. So obviously you got Jackson and Mendelsohn reprising their roles as Nick Fury and Talos, and the crossover series showcases a faction of shapeshifting Skrulls who have been infiltrating Earth for years. It's interesting to see how many heroes might pop up in that show, because in the comic book it was this big event that spanned the entire Marvel line, and like every superhero was kind of involved in some way. So it'd be interesting to see how many cameos they get of various superheroes, even if they're focusing on Jackson and Mendelsohn. It feels like it might be a smaller scale thing than it was in the comics, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, so cool. But yeah, Olivia Colman is a good actress. I have liked her in quite a few things she's popped up in. Not always in stuff to my taste, but whenever I have seen her in something, she's been usually fairly exceptional. Obviously, she has the odd small role in some. I think she's in Hot Fuzz, for example, in a really small, funny role. But she was wonderful in a movie called Tyrannosaurus that came out. That must have been about 8 years ago or something like that now. But she was phenomenal in that film, and she's put in a lot of good performances over the years. So they have a lot of good cast in these Marvel things. The quality, I think, varies wildly. Maybe that's very subjective. I think Falcon and Soldier's been up and down, like all over the place. There's been some stuff that I think's great, and there's been some stuff that I think's boring as hell in that show. So we'll see how Secret Invasion does. But that is Olivia Colman joining the cast. Speaking of cast for things, I mean, the news here is actually the release date. We have an anthology series coming to Amazon Prime. The news is that it's coming on the 21st of May. So this is on Prime, and this is David Wheel's anthology series, Solos. And it has a hell of a cast. It has Morgan Freeman, Anne Hathaway, Anthony Mackie, Helen Mirren, Dan Stevens, Constance Wu, and then a couple of people I don't recognize, but Nicole Behar and Uzo Aduba are also on the cast. There's like 8 posters with all these faces on them. But this is launching in May. This is an anthology show. It's kind of vague exactly like how it's going to work in the description, but I'll read it anyway, and you can make what you do of it. It sounds like, I mean, I don't know if they're just on their own in each story, in each episode, or if it's just been really flashy with its wording to describe a story where there's a main character and it's about them. But Solos is a dramatic and thought-provoking 7-part anthology series that explores the deeper meaning of human connection, as explored through the lens of the individual. Solos will tell unique character-driven stories, each from a different perspective and moment in time, that illuminate that even during our most seemingly isolated moments and the most desperate of circumstances, we are all connected through the human experience. So I don't know if that implies that they're all part of the same world and we're going to see how they all view the same thing separately. That sounds like a really cool idea, but I'm not convinced that's actually what it is. It may just all be 7 different stories. What's interesting is that there's 8 posters, so 2 of these actors are in the same thing, at the very least. So we'll see. But cool. I presume we'll get a trailer before it comes out, and we'll maybe get a better idea of how this is going to actually work and function. But so that's coming on the 21st of May to Amazon Prime. Next up, Netflix has given an 8-episode series order to Florida Man. Edgar Ramirez, star of the movie Yes Day, which was on Netflix, is going to star in the series. coming from writer-producer Donald Todd. In Florida Man, created by Todd, when a struggling ex-cop is forced to return to his home state, Florida, to find a Philly mobster's runaway girlfriend, what should be a quick gig becomes a spiraling journey into buried family secrets and increasingly futile attempt to do the right thing in a place where so much is wrong. The series is described as a wild odyssey into a sunny place for shady people in the spirit of Body Heat and Elmore Leonard's Out of Sight. I have to admit, if you're going to call something Florida Man, I expect something that's going to be hilarious, and this doesn't sound like it's going to be hilarious. This sounds like a fairly typical thriller noir cop show, potentially. And nothing about that description makes me excited. If you're going to call this show Florida Man, I need like a dumb superhero in Florida called Florida Man that somehow solves things by doing really stupid stuff that you might see in the news with the headline Florida Man. So disappointing, I will say. And then last up on the news today, notice how quick this goes when there's not someone else spiraling me into other tangents. Apple TV have given a series order to Now and Then, a drama that will be shot in Spanish and English, so it's a bilingual series. Set in Miami with an all-Hispanic cast, Now and Then explores the differences between youthful aspirations and the reality of adulthood, when the lives of a group of college best friends are forever changed after a celebratory weekend ends up with one of them dead. Now, 20 years later, the remaining 5 are reluctantly reunited by a threat that puts their seemingly perfect worlds at risk. Is this a I Know What You Did 20 years ago show? Is it? That's what it kind of sounds like, because it doesn't sound like they want to be together, and I'm trying to think of what would bring them all together again, and I feel like a mysterious letter that says I know what you all did 20 years ago. Not that I think that they murdered and covered up a murder or anything necessarily, but maybe there's more to it than the public know, or so I don't know. I could be way off with that, but there you go. That's Now and Then coming to Amazon. Not Amazon, Apple TV Plus. So there you go. I don't feel particularly strongly about this either. So there you go. That is the news for today. Obviously, big things being the Shang Chi trailer and a couple of other tidbits about the superhero movies and shows, but you know, not a bad start to the week necessarily. We'll see what other things go. In fact, actually, I just thought of something that I didn't actually put in the list that I saw on Twitter. I'll just wrap up with that, just to jump back to superhero movies for a second. Apparently, they started shooting the Flash movie today, and they revealed a logo for the movie on Instagram, which made its way to other social media platforms. And the logo is, whatever, it's fine. I'll believe it. Like, I don't even know if I'll believe that this movie exists after I watch it. It's been so goddamn long in development hell. And I can't say I'm excited, because I still think Ezra Miller is a terrible Flash, so I'm not excited about that. I'm not excited that the first ever Flash movie seems to be going all out with Flashpoint and alternate versions of like 50 characters. It feels too overstuffed, and yeah, I mean, even if it wasn't this overstuffed mess that it sounds like it's going to be, let's say that problem wasn't there. I fundamentally just don't like this actor playing the Flash, and that version of the Flash that we got in those previous movies, so I'm not excited about it. But if you're excited, congratulations, you can be happy. I will be over here just ignoring it until it comes out, or until someone forces me to talk about it, in which case I'll just probably moan again. But there you go, that is the news for today. So thank you once again for joining me. You can, of course, support everything we do by simply hitting the like button and subscribe buttons on YouTube. They help us out a lot. Let me know what you thought of the news in the comments. You can, of course, support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your trouble. Otherwise, though, that is me. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV and movies. That's something I say on the other outros. I don't know why I'm saying it here. I'll see you next time, guys. Goodbye.